Welcome to another episode of the Intelligence Report. I'm your host, Dr. Joseph Opare. Wherever you are, bless you, and thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to get into some stuff today. Why? Because around the world, there are various things going on. In the United States, there's trouble. Donald Trump's government is having some problems over its immigration policies, and we can see the chaos that is taking place as federal law seems to have overridden local jurisdiction in the state of California, to the point where the National Guard and the Marines being called in to assist ICE and the local police over the immigration situation, where a lot of especially Southern American peoples that have supposedly illegally entered the country are being deported. Meanwhile, over in Togo, a very interesting development has taken place, as the people on June 6 got tired and fed up of their latest dictator. They unfortunately in Togo had in power for 38 years a dictator called Gnassingbé, and he came out of power because he died in 2005, and under a coup d'etat, his son Fayoure Gnassingbé took, or for Gnassingbé, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name properly, but he took over from his father through a military coup d'etat, and the people protested. And so when they protested about this, they did a, in quotes, democratic election and put Fayoure Gnassingbé into power through what is believed to have been some fixed elections. Now, recently, the reason for the uproar in Togo is because I believe about a year ago, Fayoure Gnassingbé managed to get a bill passed through his government in order to set up a new appointment for himself. This new appointment made him what is called the President of the Council of Ministers. I've never heard of this title before, but this new invented title gives him the right to continue to have ultimate power in Togo, whilst still having in power what you would call the Prime Minister. And so on the 6th of June, on his birthday, the people in Togo took to the streets, being tired of the dynasty of dictatorship and the grab for power, took to the streets and gave him 72 hours to demolish this power structure, which some say is a constitutional coup d'etat. Now, what we have to understand about Fayoure Gnassingbé, or Fayoure Gnassingbé, is the fact that he's been in power since 2005 and has very strong ties to French corporations that have been in Togo, and there has been a lot of allegations and controversies over bribery and corruption where his government is concerned, if we could call it a government, because it has been for 58 years a dynasty of a dictatorship, handed over from father to son, father being in for 38 years and now son being in for 20 years, and there has been no roar from Europe. There's been no outcry from Europe. Yes, we hear Europe and America talking about Ibrahim Traore, but when it comes to this particular man, there seems to be not much being said. It seems to be that we can hear the chirping of grasshoppers rather than any real loud voices in protest coming from France or the EU or America. So let's look at the allegations, especially with a company called the Bolloré Group and port concessions. The French billionaire Vincent Bolloré and his former Bolloré Group, now sold to MSC Shipping Group. Bolloré's company has faced accusations of illegally obtaining port concessions in several African countries, including Togo. And then it goes on to say bribery and influence peddling. French investigators have looked into allegations that the Bolloré Group illegally backed Faure Gnassingbé's 2010 presidential campaign in Togo in exchange for port concessions in Lomé. In 2025, Bolloré and his executives admitted to bribing the Togolese president. Wow. Okay, for favors at the port, and were fined. This highlights a direct link between political support and business interests. Okay, let's go on. Dominance in logistics and media. Bolloré's influence extended beyond port operations to include media, digital communications, and internet service provision in Africa, often through subsidiaries like Vivendi Africa, GVA, and GVA Togo. Now, Bolloré is not the only company or corporation that's had strong ties with Togo. Let's look at others that have a strong French corporate presence. When we are talking about French corporations in Togo, we can speak about companies like Vinci. Through its subsidiary, Sogia Satom, have expressed interest in major road expansion projects such as the Lomé-Sinkazi Road. When we talk about energy, French companies like Électricité de France and Total Energies operate in Togo. The French Development Agency, AFD, is also a major donor in the energy sector, supporting projects to improve electrification networks. AFD funds programs to improve access to drinking water and solid waste management in Togo. Ruby's Asphalt, a French group, operates a terminal in Lomé, aiming to make it a sub-regional hub for bitumen supply. French companies like Atos and Idemia were recently granted a contract for the development of Togo's biometric ID system. So what we see here is what you would call a fascist kind of style amalgamation between government and corporation. Why? But when I'm saying government and corporation, I'm not speaking necessarily just of the government of Togo, but we're talking about the government of France having a fascist imprint through neocolonialism on Togo. And if you look at the state of development in Togo and you look at the rates of unemployment, the lack of development, and everything else going on in that strip of West Africa, which was formerly known in the old maps as the Slave Coast. And I would go into that maybe another day, because that place has some very strong historical ties with the diaspora that made it into the Caribbean and also into the United States. And so we need to understand that the reason for the uproar from the people is that they are tired of France and its continued interference in the financial affairs of Togo. And it's time, according to the people, for the puppet of France to come down. Thank you for listening to this new episode of the Intelligence Report. We'll be back again with you very soon. Bye for now.